He will never be husband material. She laughed at dinner with our friends, so I quietly paid the bill and walked out. Now her new boyfriend dumped her, her friends are avoiding her, and she wants me back. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I should have listened to the little voice in the back of my head. It started whispering about a year into the relationship with Sarah. We met at a coffee shop. She was this whirlwind of energy and charm, all big smiles, and even bigger plans. I was the quiet, steady one, a software engineer who loved building things, whether it was code or a relationship. I fell hard. We were together for 5 years. 5 years where I put her first every single time. I supported her, not just emotionally, but financially. She was chasing a dream of becoming an event planner, which meant for the first 3 years, she was mostly working freelance gigs and running up credit card debt. I covered our rent, the utilities, groceries, everything. I took on side projects just to keep us afloat and never once complained. It wasn't a sacrifice. It was a choice I made because I believed in her. I even passed on a job offer in another city, a promotion that would have been a huge step up for me, because she said she couldn't leave her family and friends. We're a team, I remember her saying. We'll build our life right here. I took her at her word. I bought into the dream. The problem was, Sarah wasn't a team player. She was the star of the show, and I was the stagehand. I loved to cook, so I made her dinner almost every night. I loved to plan, so I handled all our vacations, meticulously finding the perfect herbs and little restaurants she'd love. She'd always post pictures on social media with a caption like, "My Mark is the best planner," or "So spoiled by this man." But in private, she'd act like these things were just expected, like they were the bare minimum. Her friends were even worse. They were all in the same go-getter social scene, a group obsessed with image, careers, and finding alpha partners. Sarah would constantly compare me to them. "Oh, Jordan just bought his girlfriend a new watch," she'd say. Or, "Mike just got a promotion at his private equity firm. He's making bank." She never said it with malice, just this casual observation, but the subtext was always there. Why can't you be more like them? I remember one night, she came home frustrated from a networking event. "I just feel like you don't get my world, Mark. You're so grounded. My friends' boyfriends are all hustling, making moves. You're happy just coming home and coding and making dinner. It's nice, but it's not what I need." I tried to tell her that my stability was a strength, that a solid foundation was what made a house last. But to her, it was a sign of weakness. It was boring. It wasn't the kind of ambition she could show off. I was the rock she leaned on, but I wasn't the diamond she wanted to wear. I just kept my mouth shut and went back to cooking. I should have realized then that I wasn't just a supporting character in our relationship. I was a backup plan. I was the safe bet until something better came along. And the alarm bells, which I'd so desperately tried to ignore, started to scream. I guess the moment I'd been subconsciously dreading finally arrived on a Saturday night. It was a dinner party with our close friends, a group we'd known for years. It was an intimate gathering, 8 of us at a table in a dimly lit Italian place. The wine was flowing, and the conversation was loud and easy. I was sitting there, listening to a friend, Ben, tell a funny story, just enjoying the night. For a split second, I felt completely content. And that's when it happened. The conversation turned to relationships and marriage. Our friend Jessica, who'd just gotten engaged, held up her hand, showing off her ring. Everyone was oohing and awing. Then she turned to Sarah, a playful smile on her face. "Okay, your turn, Sarah. When are you and Mark going to make it official?" The question wasn't meant to be malicious. It was just a natural progression of the evening. But Sarah's whole demeanor shifted. She suddenly seemed to be performing for the table. She gave a small, forced laugh and looked at me, then back at Jessica. "Oh, Mark," she said, her voice dripping with a casual, almost dismissive condescension. "He's great. He's so nice. But, let's be real. He's just not husband material." The table went quiet. Jessica's smile faded. Everyone just looked at their plates. I felt a cold wave wash over me, a feeling that was beyond anger. It was a complete and total realization of where I stood in her life. Then, she doubled down. She started to explain herself, but it was just a way to twist the knife further. "I mean, look, he's a wonderful person. He's so safe and predictable. He's the guy who'll always cook you dinner and pay the bills. But you know, I need a man who's a little more driven. I need an alpha. Someone who's making moves in the world, not just content with a comfortable life. She took a long sip of her wine and continued, oblivious to the fact that she had just publicly humiliated me in front of the people who mattered to us. Like, I want the guy who's building the startup, not just the one coding for a company. Mark is just not that guy. She gestured at me with her glass, as if I were a piece of evidence. I didn't say anything. I didn't get angry. I didn't shout. I just sat there and listened to my own death sentence. The man she was describing, the one she wanted, was a fictional character she'd created in her mind, a composite of all the flashiest guys she knew. I was the real man, the one who loved her, who paid her bills, who supported her dreams. And in that moment, I understood that the real me would never be enough. My mind was suddenly and perfectly clear. I looked at the table, at the half-eaten pasta, the empty wine glasses. I got the waiter's attention, and without a single word, I handed him my credit card. I didn't look at Sarah. I didn't look at my friends, who were all staring at their food, too uncomfortable to meet my eyes. The waiter brought the check back, I signed it, and left a tip so generous it was practically a tribute to the death of our relationship. I put my fork down, pushed my chair back, and stood up. The scraping sound of the chair was the only noise in the room. I looked at no one. I just said, calmly, my voice steady, I'm heading out. The rest is on me. I walked out of the restaurant and into the cool night air. I didn't get a call from her that night. Or the next day. A text finally came 24 hours later. What the hell, Mark? We need to talk. My reply was a single, definitive sentence. I'm not coming back. I blocked her number. Then I blocked her on everything else. Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn. I was gone. The man she'd called not husband material had just vanished, leaving her to face the reality she'd so carelessly created. The silence was a revelation. For 5 years, my life had revolved around Sarah's needs, her moods, and her endless quest for more. Without her, my days were suddenly my own. The first few weeks were strange, a mix of confusion and relief. My phone was dead silent. I hadn't just blocked Sarah. I had made a clean break from our entire social circle. I needed to escape the echo of her words, the pitying looks of our friends. I refocused my energy. I hit the gym harder than I ever had before. I started running, long distances that gave me a sense of peace and a clear head. I picked up an old passion project, building custom furniture. It was a slow, deliberate process, a quiet contrast to the chaos of my life with Sarah. I got a new apartment, a place that felt like a sanctuary, calm, quiet, and filled with the scent of sawdust and fresh paint, not the unspoken tension I had become used to. As I was building my new life, Sarah was, predictably, tearing hers down. Our mutual friends, the ones who had been at the dinner, started reaching out, cautiously at first. They told me what happened after I left. Apparently, the table was stone cold. Her friends, Jessica and Ben especially, were furious. They thought what she said was cruel and completely out of line. Sarah tried to play it off, saying I was being dramatic, but they weren't buying it. A few of them had been there when I was paying her rent and supporting her and knew what she had said was an absurd lie. The quiet dignity of my exit had made her cruelty look even worse. They started distancing themselves, and the group splintered. And then, there was husband material. His name was Alex, a guy she'd been hinting at for months, a flashy venture capitalist she'd met at a conference. He was everything she said she wanted. Driven, ambitious, a go-getter. He took her on expensive trips, bought her gifts, and posted about her on social media with nauseating frequency. Her Instagram became a highlight reel of a life she'd always craved. Boats, fancy restaurants, and designer clothes. I had moved on, but I still heard things through the grapevine. I learned that Alex wasn't all he seemed. He was a narcissist who treated her like a trophy. The fancy dinners were business meetings he dragged her to, where he expected her to play a silent, pretty prop. The expensive gifts came with strings attached. He was a user, a man who saw relationships as transactions. The karma came swiftly and brutally. About 2 months into their relationship, Alex dumped her. Not in person, but in a text message, because he'd found a new trophy with a bigger social media following. He cut her off cold. The alpha she wanted had discarded her just as she had discarded me. And suddenly, the highlight reel stopped. No more boat pictures, no more expensive dinners. The posts changed from curated photos of a perfect life to sad, vague quotes about betrayal and toxic people. The friends who had once fawned over her now saw her for what she was, a user who had been used. They didn't feel sorry for her. They felt embarrassed for her. While she was being left to clean up the mess she'd made, I was thriving. I sold a few of my custom furniture pieces, which was a huge confidence boost. I met someone new, a woman named Emily. She was kind, funny, and she found my quiet, steady nature to be a source of comfort, not something to be pitied. When I cooked dinner for her, she didn't post it on Instagram. She just told me how good it was, and it was the most genuine praise I'd ever received. The man she had called, not husband material, was building a life she couldn't even imagine. It was a life built on authenticity, hard work, and genuine connection, not on social media approval and a borrowed sense of importance. And the best part? I didn't have to fight for it. I just had to walk away and let her fail on her own. The downfall was a slow burn, but the final encounter was a supernova. The first attempt to contact me came a few weeks after Alex had dumped her. A text message, full of the kind of fake casualness that made my skin crawl. Hey, I know it's been a while. Just saw a picture of a dog that looked like one we used to see, and it made me think of you. Hope you're well. I didn't reply. She tried again a few days later, her tone more desperate. Chris, please answer me. I need to talk to you. Things aren't going well. The messages became more frequent, more frantic. She knew I had her blocked, so she tried everything. She texted me from a friend's number, called from private numbers, and even sent me a long, rambling email titled, "We Need to Talk." I deleted them all without a second thought. I wasn't being cruel. I was just gone. The man she had discarded was no longer available for her to use as a sounding board, a shoulder to cry on, or a backup plan. Then, she started to pull out the big guns, our mutual friends, the ones who had been at the dinner. She knew they still occasionally talked to me. Ben called me one day, sounding uncomfortable. "Hey Mark," he said, "I know you guys aren't talking, but Sarah is really a mess. She keeps texting me, asking for your number, asking me to talk to you for her. She says she made a mistake and wants to apologize." I didn't need to ask. I knew what this was. This wasn't remorse. It was a desperate attempt to regain control. Her carefully constructed world was in shambles, and she was looking for the one person she knew she could always manipulate, me. I replied calmly, "Ben, I appreciate you letting me know, but I'm not interested. I'm not a bridge to her life anymore, and I don't want to be. I'm happy, and I want to keep it that way." He sighed with relief. "I hear you, man. I'm glad you're good. Honestly, she's reaping what she sowed." The final confrontation happened on a Friday afternoon. I was at the coffee shop where Emily and I had our first date, just grabbing a coffee after a run. I was in a great mood, feeling completely at peace. The bell on the door chimed, and I looked up. There she was, Sarah. She was a ghost of her former self. Her hair was a mess, her clothes were baggy, and she had dark circles under her eyes. She looked tired, defeated, and completely out of place. She saw me, and her eyes went wide. She started to walk toward me, a desperate, frantic look on her face. "Mark," she said, her voice a little too loud, a little too strained. "Oh my God, I've been looking for you." I just looked at her, my face completely impassive. I felt nothing. No anger, no pity, not even a flicker of the old affection. I just saw a stranger. "I need to talk to you," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I made a huge mistake. Leaving you was the worst decision of my life. I know I said terrible things, and I am so sorry. Alex was a jerk. He used me. I just want to go back to us, to how things were." I took a sip of my coffee, the warmth a sharp contrast to the cold indifference I felt. I looked at her, at the raw desperation in her eyes, and I knew what she wanted. She wanted a reset button. She wanted the safe, reliable, not husband material guy back. She wanted her comfort blanket. I set my cup down on the counter. My voice was calm and steady, devoid of any emotion. I didn't raise it. I didn't yell. I just spoke the truth. "You're right," I said. "You made a huge mistake." Her face brightened, a fleeting glimmer of hope in her eyes. "So you forgive me?" I shook my head slowly, a faint, sad smile on my face. "No. You said I wasn't husband material. And you were right. I'm not." I paused for a moment, letting the words sink in. "I'm not husband material for you." Her face fell. She tried to say something, but I cut her off. The man you knew is gone, Sarah? The one who put your needs before his own. The one who paid for everything and quietly took your disrespect. That man doesn't exist anymore. He's building a life that you can't be a part of. And I'm not a plan B. I'm my own life. A good one. And you are no longer a part of it. I looked at her one last time, at the full realization of what she had lost dawning in her eyes. I didn't say another word. I just turned, walked out of the coffee shop, and left her standing there, a ghost of a past that no longer mattered to me. My life was finally my own, and it was a life I had earned. I didn't need to come back. I just needed to walk away and let her find her own way in a world without me. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.